Hi, let's learn how to diagnose primary amenorrhea. So primary amenorrhea is basically when a female has never menstruated in her life. And there can be many causes to this, and this can be kind of confusing. So I've tried to put it all in one screen so that the different features are easily highlighted. So let's first learn, as we all know, the basics of menstruation, that there is a hormonal aspect to it, which is composed of the hypothalamus, pituitary and ovarian axis, the HPO axis. And then there is I kind of call it the conductive pathway of menstruation, where there's the uterus, which is being shed, the lining of the uterus is being shed, and the vagina, and it passes through the vagina and then into the hymen and then outside. So that's kind of the conductive pathway for menstruation. So there can be problems with all of these things. So first, what will be the key difference between if something is wrong with the hormonal aspect or the conductive aspect? So that's why I've drawn a line between the two, as you can see, that if there is a problem with the HPO axis, the secondary sexual characters will always be abnormal. Okay, and if there is a problem with the UVH, which is the uterus, vagina or hymen, the secondary sexual characters will be normal, but there'll still be no menstruation. So first, let's look at what can be the diseases in the hormonal part, which is the HPO axis. So hypothalamus, under hypothalamus, we have this condition known as Calman Syndrome. And one keyword that I want you to remember here is anosmia. So if you see that in the question, this is most likely the answer. Then pituitary tumors, like maybe a craniopharyngioma or something like that, those can affect the HPO axis. And then ovary. So ovary is basically the female gonad. So all of these syndromes come under gonadal dysgenesis. So Turner syndrome, as we all know, there's a XO genotype. So there are many other features in addition to the streak gonads. So there's a short stature. So short stature should be the keyword for Turner's in your head. Then there's just pure gonadal dysgenesis, where the additional features of Turner syndrome are absent. And then there is Sawyer syndrome. So Sawyer syndrome has a genotype of XY. So that's the thing that you can remember about it. And then comes the conductive part, which is the uterus, vagina, and hymen. So in uterus, there can be complete Mullerian agenesis. So the Mullerian duct is not present. So this causes none of the parts of the female reproductive tract to be formed. And one type of Mullerian agenesis is Mayer-Rokitansky-Kuster-Hauser syndrome, MRKH syndrome. It has some additional features to it, which you can look up. And then there is androgen insensitivity syndrome. So again, the word androgen here should tell you that the genotype in androgen insensitivity syndromes is XY. Okay, so there is complete androgen insensitivity syndrome, partial androgen insensitivity syndrome, and Reifenstein syndrome is kind of related to this because it's very less androgen insensitivity. So this child is actually taken as a male child at birth, and therefore this kind of does not come under primary amenorrhea because the child is taken as a male child. It is an undervirilized male child. But complete and partial syndrome, androgen insensitivity syndrome very much will present as primary amenorrhea. And in vagina, we have the transverse vaginal septum, and hymen could be an imperforate hymen, which is preventing the menstrual flow to come out. So this is just an overview of all syndromes or diseases that come under this aspect. So first thing that we'll look at is the secondary sexual characters. This will tell us where it is the problem of the hormonal aspect, which is the HPO axis, or is it a part of the conductive pathway, which is the uterus, vagina or hymen. And basically keywords like anosmia, short stature will help us to arrive at the answer. Now, one thing that stands out in this case is that all the syndromes here will have a genotype of XX because it's a female child who is having amenorrhea. But some syndromes have a genotype of XY. And this includes androgen insensitivity syndrome. So this is a child with an XY genotype, but completely resistant to testosterone. So the external genitalia resemble that of a female, and therefore it is taken as a female child. So complete may it will be a normal female child. In partial, there is some sensitivity to the androgen, testosterone, so it is a virilized female. And as I told you before, Reifenstein syndrome is taken as a male child who is slightly under virilized, because this is very less androgen insensitivity. And under the HPO part, in the ovarian part, we had the Sawyer syndrome. So I remember this as Tom Sawyer, the book by Mark Twain. So he was a boy. So in Sawyer syndrome also, the genotype is XY. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. We plan on coming out with videos like this every week. Thank you.